Man and Machine is brought to you by HighFlex Mobile Hose Service, Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts, and the following sponsors.
Yeah, baby!
It's unbelievable! Bring it on!
Welcome back to Man and Machine. We're at the B24 Liberator Project in Werribee, Victoria. There's a whole group of enthusiasts and volunteers that have been working on this machine for over 25 years. In fact, it's the only one of its type left in the entire Southern Hemisphere. So how about we take a look around and see what this project is all about. The B24 Liberator, one of the most famous bombers of World War II. It gained a distinguished war record with operations in the European, Pacific, African and Middle Eastern theatres. With 4 turbocharged radial engines making 4,800 horsepower combined, she could reach a top speed of 300 miles per hour and had a range of up to 3,000 miles. Such aircraft and the bravery of the crews they carried went a long way towards helping the Allies win the war and ultimately secure the freedom we have today. Dave, it's fantastic to be here at the B24 Liberator Project. Tell us where this all began.
Back in 1988, there was a group of ex-air crew and ground crew that flew Liberators during the war got together, and they wanted to create a memorial to the 20,000 people that worked and flew them. Eventually they discovered there was a Liberator fuselage down in Moy. There was this guy, George Toy, had bought the Liberator fuselage in 1948 and they were auctioning off the bits and pieces. So George bought the fuselage and had it transported to his farm. And he stayed in it for 7.5 years while he built his farmhouse. And there was trees and shrubs and stuff grew all round about it. And eventually this group started negotiating with George to see if they could buy the fuselage to get this memorial going. And eventually George agreed, and in 1995 the group went down to Moy and rescued the fuselage and brought it back to here. When the aircraft arrived at the front of the hangar, the people that brought it there had this dream that one day this aircraft would be live. They'd be able to start up the engines, demonstrate to the people that this could be done. And that was the real starting point. So the group gradually grew. There was people come in, volunteers, to help to clean the fuselage, get it repaired. The hangar itself copes with 25 to 30 volunteers. They're the permanent workers in the hangar. There's the guys that work in the aeroplane. There's the engine group, there's the electrical group, there's the radar group. So there's little groups of people that are utilising their skills to progress the aircraft. Now the curious thing about our Liberator is, ours is the only one that's been taken down to more or less near enough the last rivet and rebuilt.
How long have you been involved in this project and where did it start for you, your passion for aircraft?
I served my apprenticeship over in Scotland. I was working with guys that had actually worked on the Liberators. So what I was getting was these stories of bravado and, heroic bloody rescues of aircraft and that. 1964 I immigrated, came over to Australia, spent 32 years with government aircraft factories. I retired in 2000. I needed something to do and my friend was down here and he says, why don't you come and work in the Liberator? I said, Liberator. So down I came on the Tuesday and I've been here ever since.
So Dave, will this aircraft ever fly?
The aircraft will never fly. From day one that decision was made because we realised our group would never have the money to finance the aircraft to flight status. There's millions of dollars worth of engineering and regulations. So the original group decided if we get it to static display plus the possibility it might taxi and have the aircraft in a live condition. The 4 engines will run, the turrets will work, all the flying controls will work, they'll be movable.
Now I've done a bit of research and found that the Willow Run facility, the aircraft facility over in the States that was set up by Ford, designed and constructed by them, It was a huge task, wasn't it? They were pumping a lot of these aircraft out, weren't they?
There was 5 factories in America, and it's extremely hard to contemplate that when you see the bulk of the aircraft, the complexity of it. Somewhere in America, every 59 minutes, there was a Liberator rolled off the thing.
The Willow Run Bomber Production Plant, a true industrial miracle of World War II. It was designed and constructed by Ford Motor Company to produce B24 Liberator bombers on a huge scale. In fact, it was one of the largest operations of its type ever seen in aviation production. The team at Ford used everything they'd learned in their many years of automobile mass production in order to produce one Liberator every 55 minutes. As an example, they cut the production of its huge 110-foot main wing assembly from over 11,000 man-hours of labour to only a few hundred hours. At one point, there was a massive workforce of over 42,000 dedicated men and women to help ensure these well-equipped warbirds were delivered on time, every time. Over 85% of the B-24's 20-tonne construction was made up of aluminium, each using 400,000 rivets and over 1.2 million individual components. Back in 1941, it was believed impossible to build a bomber as big as the Liberator in under an hour, let alone several hours. But it became reality, and over 6,685 were produced at Willow Run. And such relentless efforts from all involved were an important part of achieving success against a fierce and determined enemy in World War II. Coming up, a couple of Aussie veterans that spent some time with these B-24s during World War II.
HiFlex Mobile Hose Service, your complete hose breakdown and on-site service partner. HiFlex Mobile Hose Service offers a complete range of quality guaranteed hydraulic and industrial hose and fittings products. We also specialise in preventative maintenance programs such as on-site hose condition auditing, testing and compliance. With our national fleet of qualified technicians, you can rely on HiFlex Mobile Hose Service's rapid response to all of your needs. Call 1300 HiFlex, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Do you have a hydraulic background? Come and join the dynamic HiFlex team. Check out opportunities at www.hiflex.com.au.
Shannons Club, a hub for motoring enthusiasts. So join, create your own garage, share pics, videos and stories of your current and past machines, connect with other enthusiasts. Be sure to watch Shannons Club TV with a host of dedicated motoring channels, including past episodes of Man and Machine. So jump on board with Shannons Club. I'll see you on there. The B-24s had a 4-tonne bomb load and 10 50 cal heavy machine guns. They dropped over 630,000 tonnes of bombs during the war, and thousands of enemy aircraft fell to their gunners. But machines like these in the heat of battle needed a dedicated ground crew that worked relentlessly to keep them in the air night and day. For the brave pilots and crew within them that took on a formidable enemy head first. These crews knew that when they went out on a mission, there was a strong possibility that they may never return home. Vern, fantastic talking to you. You were actually involved in these aircraft back in the day, weren't you? When it was all happening. Tell us about that.
It was first of all down at East Sale working on Lockheed Hudsons and Airspeed Oxfords, Beauforts, and then the RAAF was granted Liberators, and in early 1944 we formed Liberator Squadrons, was sent up to Tokemall to do a crash course on Liberators, and from there on we were involved with Liberators operating out of the northern part of Australia, up near Katherine, Darwin area, and our aircraft covered all the northern part towards Timor and Timor Sea.
And what was your job in the day? What did you actually do?
My job was as a fitter airframe, was to look after each aircraft, service them as they went out on bombing raids, and when they'd come back we'd recheck them over again before they went out again. And
how many missions would you have seen take place in that period?
There was probably hundreds of missions that they went out on over those 18 months to 2 years that I was involved with Liberators.
What was it like to see these aircraft in action? Taking off, firing up, it would have been a pretty amazing experience.
Well, it was an experience for us because we're only boys, but we worked on smaller aircraft before, and of course it was such an event to be put onto 4-engine aircraft, because Australia never had 4-engine aircraft until we received the Liberators.
Nat, thanks for talking to us. Tell me about your history. You were actually involved in these aircraft in the day. You actually flew in them. What was your job?
My job was wireless and radar. I was on the first course of radar for the Liberator, so we had to convince the pilots it was safe to fly with, because of the build-up of power, which wasn't hard to do really, because they were all keen to see it working. It was good when we were doing sea searches.
And I believe that these aircraft were also used in the war effort to combat U-boats and subs and that, and the radar was able to, track down some of these vessels in the ocean.
Those little supply ships, I think they call them sugar dogs. They wouldn't waste bombs on them, they'd go down and strafe them.
And I believe that you also were gunner as well, is that correct?
I was trained for gunnery, yes. I only really got a bit of practice of shooting the white horses, as I know, over the sea. We was able to hit that easy enough. It was very rewarding to see your bullets hitting the water.
And what was it like to ride in these aircraft?
They were terrific aircraft. It wasn't made for carrying passengers, of course, and flying the POWs from Changi prison from Darwin down to the capital cities. We stood the POWs along the catwalk from the flight deck right back onto the radar deck, and we was carrying 20 at a time.
How many crew were on board on these B24s?
Well, wartime there was 11 in the crew. It was pretty hectic because it was wireless operated. It was on quarter-of-an-hour schedules. You had to get your messages ready for when the quarter of an hour was up. That's come around very quickly when you're gathering information to send it back to ground.
Next, we take a look at what's been happening with the restoration of this amazing machine. Aeroflow, famous for our massive range of hose fittings and performance products, now includes Krypton, the ultimate in lightweight hose and fittings. Check out our new 2015 catalogue including air filters, oil filters, hoses, fittings, engine and transmission parts, fuel systems, tanks, silicone hose, exhaust, air conditioning, turbo and nitrous accessories, tools and equipment, plus all your Aeroflow Outlaw Nitro funny car apparel. Get your free catalogue and shop online at aeroflowperformance.com.
Damn, there's just no room under here.
There's no need to do this anymore when you can buy a Tough Lift hoist starting from only $26.50. With over 20 models in their range, including 2-post, 4-post, scissor lift, motorcycle and truck. They're great for storage too. All Tough Lift hoists have Australian standard certification and WorkSafe design registration. With an impressive warranty, in-house technical support and installation options Australia-wide, what are you waiting for? Check out toughlift.com.au.
I love my Tough Lift.
Rare Spares has over 50,000 product lines and releases over 500 new products every year. Your local Rare Spares distributor has what you need when you need it. And as the only restoration company officially backed by Holden and Ford, we take our part in your project very seriously. Rare Spares, more than just a part in your project.
So Dave, she sure is one big bird, isn't she?
It's a very bulky aircraft, especially that way compared to the other aircraft that existed at that point in history. Part of the reason for that is the high wings. The other aircraft, again in that era, either had mid-wing or low wing. Basic design came off a consolidated seaplane, and the Liberator was developed from the engineering data on that, plus the twin fins at the back. It also gave a big area for the bomb bay. The bomb bay carried twice as many bombs as a B-17.
Is it something like 4 tonne?
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight, isn't
A
it?
lot of weight and a lot of bombs, and it depended on the mission, what type of bombs they put in, 250 pounders or 500 or 1,000 pounders. So depended where it was going, how far it wanted to go. I'd like to bring your attention to this radar unit, which is fitted to the Liberator. For 10 years we've searched the world for a radar to suit a Liberator. And about 18 months ago, again, there was a guy walked in from Werribee, talked about the radar. His grandpa had one in the back shed.
What?
So after a bit of negotiation and the passing over of $200, we came in possession of this radar unit. And our radio man, Charles Cowell, he took it apart, serviced it, and it works. So we demonstrate it as a working radar unit, and we're quite proud of that.
How would like to see that sitting there in Australia?
Yeah.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah. There's that, and there's the main undercarriage was found in a wooden box underneath a house in North Melbourne. You can never explain these things.
Incredible.
Yep.
And what do we have here?
Over here we have the Norden bomb sight. This is fitted in the front of the aircraft. It was a very, very top secret item when it was produced at first in the 1940s. Each Norden bomb sight in the United States Army Air Force had an armed guard allocated to it.
So they didn't want it to get into enemy hands?
It was a very forward-thinking bomb sight. It was partially computer. This thing was about 30 years ahead of its time. The bombardier would dial in all the information he needed. 7 miles from the target, he'd switch it on and then the automatic pilot would take over.
Really?
Yeah, the pilot could override it at any time, but this led the airplane into the target.
This took over control of the aircraft to create an optimal situation for target. Way ahead of their time.
Yeah, yep.
Looks like we've got some firepower here, the ball turret.
A very effective defensive weapon. It was located underneath the fuselage in the B24. The ball turret could be extended and retracted with this hydraulic ram. For takeoff, the ball turret would live inside the fuselage. The gunner, if needed, would get in the ball turret and it would be extended. It covered the rear quarter of the aeroplane where the other gunners couldn't see it. It was a very busy turret because not only did it revolve that way, it also up and down with the guns elevated and depressed the gun, so the guy could be spinning round and also going like this. Now he could be in there for up to 8 hours. He never actually entered it until he got into enemy airspace. The guy in there was cramped. He was down there with his knees, well even further than that, cramped up. And to complicate matters, the breeches of the 50 cal cannon were beside his ears. So every time he fired the guns, he had this bloody percussion in his eardrums. People normally ask the question, was it all the little people that get in there? But no, it wasn't. So if you volunteered to be an air gunner, you were an air gunner. It didn't matter whether you were this size or this size. So you could end up with a guy 6'2" crammed in the ball turret.
The power plant, these Pratt & Whitneys.
They're the big ones, they're the 1830s. They're radial engines and they've got 14 separate cylinders and they're air-cooled. We have 4 engines, change over once every 3 months, run the engine, keeps the oil flowing through them. So eventually the 4 engines will be installed in the aircraft and the aircraft will be towed outside and the 4 engines will be started up. Normally we can demonstrate an engine run by taking the stand outside, running the engine, and we get quite a crowd in here on Sundays to watch it. The engine itself is a very tough engine. It could withstand a lot of damage. The other thing about the engine was it consumed a lot of oil. It could consume about 10 gallons of oil a flight. But the Americans, again, were smart. The way they assembled their engines, the tolerances were greater than the British engine. So it consumed oil and it kept the moving parts further apart.
Gee, so we're talking 1,200 horsepower per engine?
Yeah, it's a pretty good, powerful rumble when you hear them going.
They're really like, they're alive, these things, when they run. They blow smoke, they blow flames.
Yeah, and they rumble and bumble and carry on. And
wild beast.
Yeah.
And they were turbocharged as well.
They were turbocharged as well to give them that extra altitude and extra speed.
Well, I suppose with the high altitudes, you really needed that forced induction to get that pressure above atmospheric to do the job, because the air's so thin up there, isn't it? And the engine's not going to perform as well.
When the superchargers are working in it, and the aircraft's about 22,000 feet, the engines are performing as if they were at 10,000 feet with this item forcing the air into the induction system.
Certainly did the job.
No, they did.
Coming up, we take a look at some more firepower and then take a look inside this epic machine. Always wanted your very own muscle car or classic? Then Image Classic Cars is your solution. Where pride, knowledge, quality and service counts for the ultimate experience. From award-winning concourse restorations to full custom builds, muscle cars to classics of all makes and models, right-hand drive conversions, even Australia-wide enclosed pickup and delivery for your pride and joy. Also currently taking orders for the spectacular Image Classic Cars Eleanor Mustang, custom built to suit your personal requirements. Image Classic Cars. Live the dream. A tough car needs a tough oil, and that's when you need Gulf Western Oil. It's Australian-owned, developed and manufactured in their state-of-the-art production facility. So no matter what you drive, you can be assured you're in the right hands for all your lubrication needs. Gulf Western Oil, the tough Australian. Well, we're with Tony, and Tony's another member of the crew here, long term. Tony, we're here in the demonstration cockpit.
Yes.
And I'm told that the controls, with most of them being cable, had quite a bit more travel.
Yeah, this one itself, it will come to right to your chest. So if they do have tall guys and they've got to sit right back, at least they can pull the controls back.
And I've heard that the controls weren't very razor sharp because of the distance from basically here through the cable right to the controls.
Yeah.
There was that, delay compared to some of the smaller aircraft.
Well, there is a lot of it. It's used by hydraulics as well as cables, so they did have a fair bit of control. The pilot from this aircraft, he was telling me that when he first started training on that it was very difficult, but once you got used to it, it was not too bad.
And there's definitely no shortage of instruments, gauges, levers. It'd certainly keep you busy, that's for sure.
There's a lot more to go in these ones yet. As I say, they've got even automatic pilots in these things for them days.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that was fantastic.
Gee, absolutely. So Tony, this looks like a very vulnerable position, front gunner. It would have been a scary ride.
It is usually when the enemy's coming towards you, he'd be the first one to go, because they usually go after the pilots, and he'd be the first one to go, unless they get the pilots first.
So this really is the first point of defence for the pilots. And is there much in the way of movement in the front gun? Is it hydraulically controlled or manually?
It's all hydraulics, and if hydraulics do fail, there I've got auto manual.
Quite slow, the manual option, by the looks of it.
I think these young kids in them days was a bit stronger than what I would use these things.
If you had a BF109 coming towards you, you'd want to be
pretty
swinging those
quick.
handles pretty hard, wouldn't you?
But once it's in hydraulics, it moves very quickly.
And are these a 50 cal?
They're all 50 cal right throughout the aircraft. And these particular things here, they're about 2 inches thick. And they protect their face from the bullets. They are bulletproof. There is one down on the bench down there with actual bullet holes in it.
Yeah, you'd certainly want every bit of protection you could get, but I'm sure that there were times where it didn't help much.
Now, some of the side panels on these things too have got bulletproofs, especially when it's for the legs. Yeah, there was a pretty mighty machine.
So Tony, what area are we in here?
This is the bomb bay area where all the bombs are kept. They do carry 20 bombs, 250 pounds a piece. Also, these two can carry deck charges as well as bombs. They can pick up submarines because of the radar that they have in these aircraft. On one side you've got hydraulics, and on the other side you've got cables. In case of either one of them goes, at least they've got a way of getting home.
So further down towards the end of the aircraft, where are we now?
We're in the area where you've got 2 way scanners, one on each side of the aircraft. And also you can see inside here where they've got the oxygen bottles. If they do have to go into a high atmosphere, at least the guys have got something to breathe. Just behind us there, where we are sat now at the moment, is where the ball turret fits, which fits right up into the, the grooves here. Yes.
I can't believe the amount of oxygen tanks.
Yes, I don't know what the lifespan is in one particular thing. Probably could be, maybe half hour per thing. As I say, you've got 10 crew on here.
I would imagine it would have been extremely cold too at that altitude.
Yes, because there's no heating in these things.
Gee. But I would imagine you have to be as high as possible when it comes to altitude because you want to escape enemy
freezing, yeah, for sure.
Enemy aircraft guns down below, you wanted to, I suppose, get out of their range.
That's for sure.
And this is the business end of this aircraft. Pretty tight in here, I've got to say. And right here, this is where the radio operator sat, and the engineer was right here. Now the engineer looked after all of the systems on the aircraft, including the engines. And if you see this little window here, when the engines were fired up, he was able to look outside and see whether the engines were running a little bit rich or whether they had any issues, whether it be fire or any sort of problems. His job was to keep an eye on everything in that department. This is the cockpit, and it's undergoing restoration, as you can see. It's got a massive pipes, wires, stuff everywhere, and a massive amount of work to finish it and get it up to working condition. You've got to remember there was 1.2 million components in these aircrafts with assembly. So a huge amount of work and a lot to worry about, especially when you've got a small team, unlike the 40,000 plus workers that worked in some of these facilities where these aircrafts were built to do the job very quickly. That's why this project has taken years of blood, sweat and tears from the volunteers here. And right above us, a little bit further here, is actually the upper gun turret. So there was plenty of firepower on this machine to try and protect it from the enemy when it was on its missions. And I've got to say, when you look out the windshield, absolutely amazing feeling. You know you're in something that means business. It's almost like the army tank of aircraft. This thing is strong, it's powerful, it's muscular, and it's meant to do one thing, and that is create victory. And it sure did. Well, what a fantastic project. The dedication and the passion from the volunteers here is absolutely mind-blowing. If there's anyone out there that wants to donate to the cause, you're more than welcome. These people need our help. It'd be great to see this old bird up and running, those 4 engines, puffing out smoke, puffing out flames. The thing would sound absolutely amazing. And this aircraft, what a machine, and what a rare machine it is too at that. The dedication of the nation and the people, the men and women that built these aircraft is amazing. The work that went into it to take on the enemy was incredible. And I take my hat off, more importantly, to the people and the crews that flew these aircraft. Also the ones that lost their lives. It was a terrible time and they sacrificed everything so that we could be free today. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Man and Machine.
Next week on Man and Machine, it's our final episode for Season 3, where we check out one man's incredible collection. He started with nothing many years ago, and through blood, sweat and tears has amassed virtually every vehicle he's ever dreamt of. Brought to you by Highflex Mobile Hose Service, Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts, and the following sponsors.